This is Saurabh, and you're listening to my favorite talk show, The Weekly Show with Aditya.
Biggest hit of the tournament. Lovely timing here. He's just picked it up and sent the ball many a mile over the boundary line. Bounces on the roof and then hits the road. It's on its way to Dubai.
This is episode 199 on the 24th of April 2020. If the talks about climate change, pollution, the earth going to ruins wasn't enough to wake people and make them change their lifestyle, we needed this mythological virus to wake us up and push it right up our rear. But what's this entire discussion about? The current situation shows humanity as gullible, vulnerable, and malleable. How easy it is to make humanity fall to their knees by coming up with mythological and off the chart ideas. This particular situation reminds me of a poem, The Second Coming by W.B. Yeats, which still holds true after all these years. Let's look at this poem and understand the current situation, turning and turning in the widening gyre. The falcon cannot hear the falconer. Things fall apart. The center cannot hold. Mere anarchy is loosed upon the world. The blood-dimmed tide is loosened, and everywhere the ceremony of innocence is drowned. The best lack all conviction, while the worst are full of passionate intensity. Surely some revelation is at hand. Surely the second coming is at hand. The second coming, hardly are those words out when a vast image out of Spiritus Mundi troubles my sight. Somewhere in the sands of desert, a shape with lion body and the head of a man, a gaze blank and pitiless as the sun, is moving its slow thighs, while all about it reel shadows of the indignant desert birds. The darkness drops again, but now I know that 20 centuries of stony sleep were vexed to nightmare by a rocking cradle. At what rough beasts its hour come around at last, slouches towards Bethlehem to be born. Now let's look at this poem and understand the first para. He said that things fall apart. Is it true? Well, that's what we are feeling right now. The center cannot hold. Yes, mere anarchy is loosed upon the world. That's what is happening. That's how the human mind is being shaped up right now. And that's why I said that right now humanity is vulnerable. They were always vulnerable, so therefore they are made gullible to this situation. We keep hearing the word anxiety, anxiety, anxiety. Nothing else comes out, be it in newspapers, through normal conversations. That's all it. Mere anarchy is loosed upon the world. The ceremony of innocence is drowned. Well, who knows who is innocent right now? What will be the post-C virus situation, the post-corona situation, the post-COVID situation? It's as simple as that. Nobody will be seen as an innocent person. We will always look at the other person as somebody suspicious. And as the saying goes, there will be a new normal. But what do we mean by the new normal? For me, this situation is a short term nightmare. A year from now, we will have forgotten that this thing even existed. we will be back to our normal selfish ways. One cannot hold humanity for a long time. No matter what is said that humanity has changed, our attitude towards the planet Earth has changed. It won't happen. This is a short term situation. 6 months from now, everything will be back to what it is. There will be a few minor changes, but that's all this is. It's nothing more than a minor inconvenience at this point. And therefore, is there a second coming at hand? Is there a second wave of human attitude which is supposed to be seen as nice, understanding, changing our lifestyle? Talking about lifestyle, I read an interesting article in a magazine where the author talks about building a post COVID reality and he poses some interesting questions. The author says, is this an end to bloated houses, big expensive cars, familiar fast foods, obesity, and all that excess of travel? How then do we imagine life in the city? Our current state of closeted well being will need a future outlet as places forge an altogether new urban life. A life that adapts the gains of the lockdown into measurable routines. This author further goes on to say that things have suddenly changed with the novel coronavirus spreading everywhere. The wide, boundless arc of the good life is now compressed into a more focused domesticity. People are huddled at home, working from there, entertaining each other. The fear of contaminating and being contaminated keeps public life in check. What impact will this have in the long term? As this poem said, the ceremony of innocence is drowned. The best lack all conviction, while the worst are full of passionate intensity, and that's what is happening right now. We won't see somebody else as innocent. We will always see the other individual as a contaminant. And this is how people are proposing that this current situation, which has made us vulnerable, we were always vulnerable, we were always gullible, and humanity was always malleable. But the way we have fallen to this mythological invisible virus, it shows what humanity was made of. We always heard that humans are a resilient race, but as of now, there is no resiliency. What is happening, nobody understands. There are a few individuals who are taking advantage of this situation and going on reiterating that this situation has made people anxious, people are nervous. What is the definition of anxious? Why should anybody be stressed? COVID or no COVID? I don't understand. Few articles are now talking about stress eating. Let's understand what this stress eating means. Stress eating combined with zero physical activity. Stress eating combined with zero physical activity is a recipe for weight gain during lockdown. But isn't that the reality? People wanted to eat and now they're eating, gorging on food. There are two sides to it. There are individuals who do not get the basic necessities of life easily, while others are exploiting this and consuming food at an alarming rate. There is surely an imbalance. But did we need this particular coronavirus to wake people up and tell them that there is the situation of the story of the haves and the have-nots? Did we need this to suddenly start caring for a certain section? Well, we did. Be it the world wars or be it any other such crisis, humanitarian crises, it is needed. Such crises, ironically, are needed to wake people up from their dream. But eventually, this is all that Corona will be, a dream, a nightmare, a short term nightmare. One can't expect humanity to be concerned about others till they get something in return. What are people worried about right now? Financial losses. That is all we hear. That is all we have been hearing for the past couple of months. And that is why we want such curfews to open. Once again, it's a delicate situation. Let's talk a bit more about this coping up with eating food to cope up with the pandemic. A quarter of the world's population has been locked up behind closed doors without access to outdoors, sunlight, and exercise. What makes matters worse is not just a lack of exercise but also the temptation to eat comfort food. In my previous episode, you must have heard me talking about lifestyle changes, or for the lack of a better word, work life balance. For now, work life balance for majority of the population is gone out of the window. People are working from home. Work from home is thought to be the new reality. What happens with work from home? People don't travel, they are not tired due to the travel. It saves on gas, on petrol, on diesel. It saves on the maintenance of vehicles. It saves on traffic jams, no pollution. So yes, these are the slight advantages of working from home, but not everybody can work from home, and that is something we need to understand, and that is once again a delicate balance. As the mythological and the fictional character Joker would say, why so serious, son? Why so serious, son? This narrative created around this pandemic, this coronavirus, COVID-19, that post this, once this virus dies down, once what is called the transmission phase is flattened, there is a flattening of the curve of countries around the world. A few individuals are now creating this narrative that there will be a new normal. When was there ever a new normal? Human beings are never normal. They are a fallible creature. They are gullible, vulnerable, malleable. So yes, they will adjust to anything. Biggest changes that individuals are talking about, which I slightly agree, for most of the time I disagree, is that when malls, parks, school open, there will be social distancing. There will be one student per bench. How is that practical? How is one student per bench in a class practical? You stuff 40 students in a classroom. How can you have one student per bench? It's not possible. It's practically impossible. And the only way to make this myth of one student per bench is to have smaller benches and bigger classrooms. That is possible. The smaller benches, the one that we usually see for higher classes. One student per bench is possible if you change the bench, not those long benches that we see in parks, but the chair and the table attached with the opening where we can keep our stationery inside. That is the only way this is going to work. For that, schools will have to change the infrastructure. bigger classrooms. And with the idea of social distancing now becoming a new reality and no longer a myth, the definition of playing periods or the physical education periods will change. There may never be a physical education period. The way this entire thing is being narrated, the way the entire narrative is being created, such things often make me think of this situation as a humorous situation. Why are we serious? What are we trying to prove by being serious in this? There is no point being serious. Before long, 6 months from now, a year from now, 2 years from now, this will be forgotten. No matter how much you hear that masks, gloves will be the new normal, a year from now, masks are going off. Only reason this is remembered is because it's there in the electronic and the digital media circles. Once the media gets bored of it, once they feel that they have nothing more to report on this, and once every media outlet, be it electronic, social, print, and any other form, once they get bored of it, it will all be erased from our minds. It doesn't take too long. Do we remember the COP Paris conference? No. Do we remember Environment Day? No. Do we remember Earth Day? No. When do we remember it? Only on that day. 22nd April is celebrated as Earth Day. Means we pretend to care about the planet and the environment twice a year. 5th June and 22nd April. What about the rest of the time? We are back to our vicious self. As far as any new practices for this is concerned, it will all go out of the window. There will be a bit of residue of this for a while, 3-4 months. People will take time to get adjusted to this new situation, but before long, nobody will bother. Everybody will go back to their daily routine. Narrative has been that if this coronavirus hadn't come, individuals would have not been focused and without clear boundaries and not being productive. We don't need such situations to make us think about our daily routines or staying focused and productive without clear boundaries. Everybody's definition of being productive is different. Being productive is not earning more money, and being productive is not working 10 hours a day. That is a myth. Work 2 hours a day, and if you think that you have done a good job, that's fine. Definition of productivity for everybody is different. In this comes the SMART objectives. Eventually, the poem of W.B. Yeats, The Second Coming, will hold true with respect to this pandemic. In my previous episode, that is the 197th episode, I talked about celebrity detox and how, partially due to their involvement in this and the fact that they are reiterating that this situation is worrying, it is negative, it is pessimistic, that we need a break from these celebrities. The thing is, these individuals just don't stop. As I said in that episode, we don't need daily sermons from these people. Such groups presumes that people are unaware of this. In the 21st century, in 2020, nobody is unaware about anything. Everybody knows everything. There are points and we just don't want our mind to be affected by it. so we bury it like we hide files in a computer. So let's hide the pessimism around this situation in the original computer. But now let's move on to something more interesting. Let's talk about the sporting part. A few football leagues are willing to start their tournaments, though in closed doors, but they see it as a fresh start after nearly a month's break. The Bundesliga in Germany and a couple of Italian and French as well as EPL are contemplating starting the tournament. But the Indian T20 tournament is shut for now. Why? Because players won't feel the rush without spectators. And then a question posed by a former cricketer that how will you stop fanatics from thronging the roads? The sea of humanity seen following the players' buses, stalking them outside hotels. The players love this. When the cricketers go in their buses to the ground for practice and for the matches. That's a question I want to ask. Partially, as a country, we are responsible for making gods out of sports person, especially in the domain of cricket. Yes, we say that religion is the opium of the masses, but cricket is the opium of the masses, and India and every sports person, especially cricketers, have been given a divine like status, and these cricketers enjoy this divine like status. So, cricketers are partially responsible for fans thronging the roads or running after the buses when the cricketers pass to go for training. So this question posed by this individual that how will you stop fans? Well, if you hadn't encouraged them so much in the first place, this story would not be happening. We are responsible for being fanatics of a particular game. So telling people not to come to the ground, is it easy? Yes, it would have been easy today. The Indian T20 tournament would have been quietly conducted if we hadn't made a big issue and a divine-like status was not given to these cricketers, and these cricketers did not exploit the innocence of the fanatics, which they not only exploited, then they come on various digital media platforms to talk to people. This further encourages individuals to become more fanatic. And then when you have to organize a tournament which has financial and other implications on the plate, so much surrounding this tournament, it's fine if this tournament doesn't happen. But if tournaments of other countries are starting, then even here they could start. But they cannot because they are afraid that fans will throng the hotels, the roads, the practice sessions, and then the fear of this transmitting again will be in the minds. Therefore, they are saying that let's not have any tournament here. If this tournament was in any other country, it would have been quietly conducted. The security of the sports persons are important. The craze around cricket is different than the craze of the same in which this sport is played. Despite having fans of other countries, despite having fanatics in other sport, the fanatics associated with cricket, especially in the subcontinent, the 4 countries surrounding the subcontinent, and we know which are the 4 countries in the subcontinent whose fans are more than just fans. They are fanatics, they are stalkers, they are so much more than this. So yes, this tournament not being conducted right now, this is the only reason. Beyond the financial and other implications and the health and well-being of the sports athletes. And of course, the world tournaments, as I talked in my last episode, are also at stake. The T20 World Championship, the Test World Championship, and other minor tournaments. So a former cricketer has a suggestion as to how the 20 over World Championship can happen if we swap locations. That is, conduct this year's T20 World Championship, which was originally scheduled in Australia, schedule it in India, subject to travel restrictions, that the cricketers have enough practice because they have been out of touch with the sport for the past couple of months. And for the cricketers, it's not, and for the sports person, it's not easy to come back and start playing immediately if they don't have the required exercise for that particular sport. We all know the craze surrounding net practice is so high. We take this minor thing like net practice and we give it so much importance. So this former retired cricketer says that have the 20 over World Championship in India, and also so that the cricketers, the sports athlete get enough practice. Even schedule the domestic World Cup, the Indian 20 over domestic World Cup, a T20 domestic World Cup just a month before. So if the International World Cup is scheduled from October to November, schedule its domestic version from September to October. Is this an out-of-box solution? In my analogy, no, this is not an out-of-box solution. This is an obvious solution. It was always going to be proposed, but who are the individuals who are going to make the final decision? It will be the Indian Cricket Board, the International Cricket Committee, as well as the member boards. But the bottom line is, this is right now a short-term nightmare. It espouses the humanity as gullible, vulnerable, and malleable. The definition of physical meeting might change, but it will be a short-term change. But things will be back to what they were, and this will be seen nothing more than a bad dream. And for that, understand the poem Second Coming by W.B. Yeats.
Biggest hit of the tournament. Lovely timing here. He's just picked it up and sent the ball many a mile over the boundary line. Bounces on the roof and then hits the road. It's on its way to Dubai.
So this ends episode number 199 on the 24th of April 2020. Stay tuned for the next episode. The next episode will be the 200th milestone episode, and I will be back. Till then, it's goodbye and good night from the studios of Aditya Digital Network.
This is Saurabh, and you're listening to my favorite talk show, The Weekly Show with Aditya.